Welcome back, friends. It is that time yet again. It is time to rank the top 5 books that I read last month. It is already November. Can you believe that? I cannot believe that it is already November. It feels like from like June onwards, the whole year just went like that. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way and what you hope to accomplish before the end of 2022. I read, let's see, I haven't actually counted. 10. I read 10 books during October, and they were Long Way Home by Melissa Grace, The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, Broken Summers by J.M. Lee, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry, The Cellar by Natasha Preston, Kismet, a Thriller by Amina Akhtar, Uncharted Waters by Sally Hempworth, Animal Farm by George Orwell, and Sign Here by Claudia Lux. And unlike the previous month where it was kind of difficult to rank them because I kind of thought they were like okay books, these were actually really great books. Most of them also were spooky season books because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to do a theme for October of spooky season books, but just had way too many books on my TBR to read that I didn't get to all of the spooky season books. So without further ado, here are my top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Kismet, a Thriller. Now this novel is described as, and this is what actually made me want to read it, I will quote from the Amazon, a viciously funny thriller about wellness, the smoothies, the secrets, and the deliciously deadly impulses. So this is a murder mystery-esque book. Like, calling it a funny thriller, I didn't find it was that funny or a thriller, to be honest, but I did think that it was a good little murder mystery set in Sedona, Arizona. So the whole gist of this book is that our main character, Ronnie, meets up with this really generationally wealthy person trying to break in to the wellness guru sphere world, and they're both from the New York boroughs area, and they move together to Sedona. And whenever they get there, on their first hike, or one of their first hikes, they see a dead body on the trail. So throughout the entire book, there are multiple murders being done by this anonymous person. You don't know the person's name, but you do get the viewpoint of this person every so often. This is a multi-viewpoint chaptered sort of book. The majority of the chapters, though, do focus on Ronnie and the experiences that she goes through. I really enjoyed this book, and it is number 5, but I did really enjoy it. I loved the setting. I really liked how this book kept you on your toes. I liked seeing how Ronnie really transformed, definitely from her flashbacks to when she was uber controlled by her aunt, to really claiming her independence, moving out to Sedona with her friend Marley, and then really claiming her independence from Marley as well. I thought that the characters in this novel were extremely well written, and although I didn't think it was that much of a thriller, and I didn't think it was that funny, there were some humorous parts, and the story really kept moving along. It was definitely a quick read because of the type of book it was. You know, the present day, the flashback, the multiple narrators, all of that really made for an interesting read. Coming in at number 4 is Sign Here, and this was my book of the month for October. Sign Here follows the main character, Pei, who works literally in hell. He works in the deals department, and the whole book is pretty much him trying to ascend through the ranks of hell to get to the very top level. And in order to do this, he has to make as many deals as humanly, or I guess demonly, possible. So this book I chose, if you missed that book of the month, I'll link it down below, but I said that I chose it because the first paragraph or so was hilarious. And although I didn't find the rest of the book as hilarious as that first paragraph or so, this was a really well-written book. I really did enjoy it. This book also has, it doesn't necessarily have, I guess technically it does. I was going to say it doesn't necessarily have time jumps, but there are a few places where it does have time jumps with the present and then the flashbacks. And then whenever the story is in hell, it's kind of like a timeless space. So if you are a time jumpy sort of person that you like timeline jumps, or non-linear timelines, I think is what it's called technically, you would really like this book, as well as if you like books told from different perspectives, you would really like this book. This book, though, there were a few things that like didn't really, I don't know, they didn't really add up. I'm not going to say what didn't really add up, because if I do, I feel like I'll spoil it, but just that's why it's not higher on the list, because I really did like the book. But there were a few scenes and a few plot points that I was like, wait a minute, those are a few few holes in it. Coming in at number 3 is The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. I loved this book. Did I love it? No, it was a weird book. I read it in a day. It was that good. I literally sat in a chair and read it. It was really weird. I want to say I loved it, but okay, so it is, in my opinion, a big, warning of why you shouldn't adopt. I know that's not the whole, point of why she wrote it, but, it makes me, question ever wanting to adopt a child. So in The Perfect Child, these two doctors, or I think it's a doctor and a nurse, anyway, they work in the hospital together, and a child wandered in who was clearly neglected. We'll say that, because if I would go into a lot of detail, this video might be flagged for AdSense. And they decided to adopt the child, and the child turned out to be the spawn of Satan. Yeah. It was an intense book. It was an intense roller coaster whirlwind of a book. That's why it's whenever I was I love it, I didn't really, because it was weird. It was a weird book. This book was also very, very technical, as far as not technical as using like a normal person couldn't understand it. But when they would talk with the doctors and they would talk with the therapists and all of this and that, it was a very set in reality technical sort of book. And I thought, well, this author has really done her due diligence and has really researched the topics. And then whenever I looked up to see if Lucinda Berry had more books, which she does, I learned that she is Dr. Lucinda Berry, and she is a child psychiatrist. I know that one can prescribe you medicine and one can't. But anyway, so she's one of them, either childhood psychologist or childhood psychiatrist, who uses the things that she learned about in her schooling to write these books. So that is why it felt so authentic. Number 2 is Long Way Home by Melissa Grace. Now, this was sent to me as an ARC, but you know me, if you've been here for all of my other reviews and not just my book talks, I tell you the absolute truth. If this book would have been garbage, it would not be this high on the list. So Long Way Home is part of a collection of books, and this was the first book that I read from her, but it will not be the last. This was a rom-com sort of book about two people who their lives are in shambles, and they meet each other at the time that neither of them wants a relationship, but of course in true Hallmark rom-com sort of scenarios, they need each other at that moment sort of thing. This book was super cute. If you have not read the rest of Melissa Grace's books, you can definitely pick up Long Way Home before reading the others. So she did say that they do live all in the same universe and they are all interconnected, but they are written that if you would like to read them as standalone novels, you definitely could. Something that I really did like about this novel was that even though it was cutesy and rom-com and sort of oh, that sort of thing, it wasn't saccharine sweet, and it was based in a bit of reality. Both of the main characters go through extremely difficult situations, and that was nice to see. Even though I do really enjoy the light and fluffy rom-com sort of books, sometimes it's okay, well, that's not real. And every so often I do like that, but I do also like rom-coms that are set in reality, and pulling in those difficult life situations and seeing how the characters interacted and supported each other through those really is what made this book stand out to me. And number 1 on the list is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I picked this one up because it's part of my reading and reviewing the 100 best books sort of thing, and now that I think about it, I've read a good amount of books on that list and haven't actually filmed updates, so I need to get on that. Anyway, for this book, I was actually put on a waiting list from the public library. Apparently it was written, if I'm not mistaken, in the 80s, but apparently it's had a resurgent because of book talk. And so I was on a very long waiting list for that, but it was worth it. One of my former roommates was, maybe still is, but obsessed with Donna Tartt's books. And now I can see why. Donna Tartt's writing pulled me in. It completely made me forget about the rest of the world and what was currently going on in my life. It is set, okay, and this is the thing though, I couldn't figure out when it was set. Some of the characters, our main group of characters, are they have this very much old money aesthetic, and so I thought that this book was set in the old money, and I know old money still exists, but in the 1940s, 1950s. But then they were referencing things from the 80s, but then another character referenced a car from the 90s. So I don't know when this story takes place, and that's something that actually bothered me throughout the whole thing, because I'm okay if I don't know the time of when a story takes place, or if there's like references here and there, but there were multiple references that just overall confused me. That is really the only thing that I'm like, about this book. But The Secret History is a psychological thriller, murder mystery sort of thing, but it's not really a murder mystery. There is a murder, multiple murders in this book, but you know who done it. You know who the murderer is. But the whole psychological thriller part is you don't really know if other people are going to find out who the murderer is. Not only the writing and the scenarios like drew me in, but that kept me going throughout the entire thing, because it is a big book. It is almost 600 pages. And, or at least the copy that I had that had like really small print was almost 600 pages. So larger prints might be more. Definitely did not lag. It did not drag. And if you are going to pick up any one of these books, like all of these books, I think you should definitely pick up. I would highly recommend picking up The Secret History, and I plan on reading everything else that Donna Tartt has written to see if it is as good as this one. As always, let me know in the comments down below what you have been reading lately. I would love to hear from you, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I know that that is a really small thing, but it is one of the things that lets YouTube know that people are enjoying this video and helps them to recommend this video to others. And if you have not done so already, consider joining our community here. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell before you leave here today. That way YouTube will let you know each and every time I upload a new video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in another one. Bye!